Hello guys and welcome to TFT World Set 12 Grand Finals, last day, game number 2. Enjoy.
I want that cutscene.
One day. All right, what do we have now? We've got Crab Rave, Gold Subscription,
It's the same
and
players.
Support Anvil. I want to see the Crab Rave. Come on.
Volta and DOA once
Variants.
again. Sitting on the high variance portal.
Agents of chaos, but we are going to be going into Gold Subscription, which in itself is also a little bit of chaos because of all the extra +1s you can get.
Well,
so I'm not opposed.
We saw, what was it, a 20 gold orb on 2-1
Oh my
just
gosh.
yesterday. I mean,
It was
you're,
enormous.
You're talking about high variance, like having everybody in the lobby start with 20 plus gold, getting those interest thresholds early means that everybody's going to be able to cap out higher. So yes, it is lower variance than something like Crab Rave, but it actually could be, crazy in its own right.
I do tend to think that this map favors the one-cost rerolls quite heavily because you have so much extra gold to kind of reroll on stage 4. Now a lot of the tempos you only level a little bit on level 4, but in this lobby you can actually get your tempo online much more precisely. And I love that start we saw from Zira, which was a tier mage start.
Yeah, there were a couple of units already there that you need to if you want to go down that Mage Soraka line. We'll see if any other players might also pick up some Soraka Seraphines as Volta does while I'm speaking.
Also holding on to the poppies though, and there's
Syndra?
and Syndra as well. There's a handful of different directions Volta can go. And I feel like we've been poking fun at Volta a little bit in the first game. I want to make sure something is abundantly clear. Volta, 5-time global stage contender, one of the most veteran players in the entire field. At this point, the only other EMEA player in history to have accolades that can even compare our Double 61, who is in contention to be the GOAT of TFT. Volta, yes, people might call you a high roller, but the truth is Volta is one of the most prestigious players in TFT, absolutely deserves to be here.
Okay, we're getting augments. I agree, by the way. We're getting augments. Learning to spell sticks out for me. If you are on a mage line, that's one of the best ones, but we're also seeing a couple of hero augments crop up. So Witchy Wallops was offered, rolled away. Zap Attack top right corner is being shown as well as an option if you would like to go for it. And then, of course, those +1s are always interesting as Tidal has picked up that Bastion crest and says, you know, a little bit of Bastion vertical. That's been doing pretty well.
I just want to point out whoever's played 8 Bastion in our final 8 has just gone on to win. It's been one of the highest cap boards ever.
Volta picks up Transfiguration. This is an augment that we've seen quite a bit here, and what it does allow is you to leverage that additional econ that you get from Gold Subscription to actually be able to roll for charms earlier than normal. I think this is a heads-up play from Volta, a tech based on the portal of this game.
Bom Yang here is going to start with the Zap Attack. We have seen this mainly go into the vertical Honeymancer line here, one of the strongest rerolls. And like I was saying, I do like extra gold for these one-cost rerolls. Tempo-wise, it feels the best.
We also saw Zap Attack played with a Fast 9 from Milk yesterday too. So keep in mind, I think the general idea, at least my read when you're playing Gold Subscription, is yes, if you want to reroll, you are going to get additional tempo earlier on in the game, save a lot of HP. On the other side, though, those players who are going for that Fast 8, Fast 9 are going to be able to hit their cap a little bit faster. So I actually still think that the person who wins this lobby is not guaranteed to be a reroll. If someone goes for that
I'm only talking about one cost. I'm not vouching for the 2 or 3.
I see. I think there is a world where someone chooses to play around something like the Fast 8, Fast 9 based on the influx of gold and is able to hit that cap a little faster.
Well, I need to point something out that we're seeing as we are moving across boards. There are 2 players who picked up an augment that tells them to open with a lost streak. One we're seeing on Darkest on the opposite side there. The other one is Midfeet, who picked up Scoreboard Scrapper. So both of these players really trying to get that lost streak going. I wouldn't be surprised if, like we're seeing from Darkest, their players are very much open to sell entire boards and just say, okay, whatever, I'll take that loss.
And in this position, you'd hate to be mid-feed because Scoreboard Scrapper actually doesn't work with that many compositions. He's trying to keep on to his multi-strikers, and that means he can't full open. So if he runs into him, there's a high chance that that lost streak will get broken.
When I think of the multi-striker line, typically I think of not sacking, but soft sacking in a way to 3-2, keeping your econ high, playing the units on the board. But then on 3-2, generally, you want to start streaking, which means that if that happens, midfield is not going to get the full value of scoreboard scrapper compared to someone who chooses to sack all the way until 4-1.
Well, we're getting a look at it right now. This is the board that we were talking about. I also would be very surprised if we are seeing a big sell here. Although for Darkest, the point kind of is that with double down, the breaking of the loss streak actually doesn't hurt your augment.
True.
So that still continues counting. It's just not that ideal because you then have a reset. But I think for both of these players, we'll see how it works out as the rounds go on. I do want to mention, though, because I called it out during the Augment pick, that Zap attack was picked up by Balmyung. So we're going to get a game that will be leaning into that Honey line. And I'm very curious on whether or not we can get that 6 going or if we're going to be leaning into that Kog'Maw more. What do you guys prefer?
I think it depends, honestly, on what you hit naturally. The nice thing about the Honey line is actually quite how flexible it is. You have multiple threats. You have Ziggs, you have Kog'Maw, you have Veigar, and like we saw with Milk yesterday, you can use them in combination to just level.
To me, the components matter the most, because I would love to be able to give instant combat power over even to a 2-star rather than a 3.
I just want to say that this is a really good play by midfield here. He actually denies Darkest from getting the bow, the item he needs the most, with the Rakan and the he just hovers it, makes sure he picks something else, and then takes it. So he has the multiple options open. I think that's really important when both of you are trying to lose streak.
Yeah, I agree. Very heads-up play there, and we are seeing a little bit of a view of all of these boards there for a second. Are you guys surprised by the extra charm pickups on the augments?
The transfigurations? I'm not. Actually, I feel like we've seen it quite a bit. The thing I love about Transfiguration is how many comps in the meta like having multiple damage threats. I think of like the Seraphine and Soraka as a great example.
But you were also in gold subscription, so something you were saying yesterday, Gangly, is the fact that you're going to have extra gold, so you can roll for those charms way faster.
I really like that point.
Thank you from both of us.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Fits really nicely into the reroll line, so you're probably going to see them head in that direction. Of course, Veigar is the one that kind of synergizes it with the most. If you want to go for that mage line, you also get extra HP from it.
But we've also seen that the results for Vex Veigar this tournament have not been very good.
Yeah, no, it has not. All of the mage compositions played around the Seraphine Soraka, quite good. All the Veigar stuff, though, it feels like there are some matchups that you still just lose, even when you get the full power of the comp.
To kind of paint that picture a little bit more, out of our top 8, 2 players have played it, and both of them went bottom 4 with it. So do not touch the Veigar reroll. I don't think it's where you want to be going.
I just want to say it was from Tidal. He played it on Game 7, I think went 8th or something. It's like, yeah, I'm not touching it again. And then had the best run for day 2.
That's how you do it.
There you go.
Learn
It
and
only
move
takes
on.
one.
It only takes one. That's what it
You can
needs.
just say it anytime. It's the most applicable mantra in the world.
That's my favorite line now.
Well, something we have to call out is that we are nearing Krugs, and that means for players like Ziyue who might be angling towards that mage line, they will need to make the move soon.
Midfeed and Darkest? That's the scariest one. Oh, Midfeed actually
Midfield is on
dodges
the opposite
Darkest.
side here.
That's huge for Midfeed. Gets his 5 streak.
I think, so Transfiguration, does anyone remember the exact cutoff? It's 4 charms,
It
right?
is 4 charms, and you
or is it
can only
3?
get 4 components.
I think it's 3 charms.
3
and
charms,
4
but
items.
4 components.
Every 3 charms you get 1. So
Yes.
does Ziyue just got his first item? Does that mean he actually rolled once to get a charm? I'm trying to do the math in my head, or no? Is that the natural one? Yeah, because you get it every other shop.
You get two charms here.
So the fact that he already got one of his items means that he rolled once on stage 2, because he's sitting on 1 additional component. He has 6 components, so he has 1 more than everyone else in the field.
Yeah, you can see that on the gold as well. Was sitting on like 38 gold, which 34 gold, which usually is a little bit too less for where you are at the current state. So definitely must have rolled in that previous round, like you were saying.
And I don't think
Look at He's so happy. He's like, yay, I dodged Darkest. I get my lost streak alive. Sorry.
No,
sorry
I know.
to cut
I
you
saw
off.
the smiling in the last combat, but I was gonna say, like, I don't really think that you mind rolling because you're rolling for the Mage Seraphine anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense. You get an extra roll on 4, and you get the component a little bit earlier, and having it before Krugs, where you get the additional influx of components, you get to kind of angle your slams a little bit.
Well, checking in with their Zap Attack player, this is where we would like multiple copies of that Blitzcrank to come on through. And
What a shot.
as I say it, they shall appear. A couple of Nunes, a couple of Zigs. Question is, how deep do you go? And I feel like for this one in particular,
Keep
because
it
it's the
coming.
hero augment, I'm always more inclined to maybe even break that 30 threshold, maybe even go to 20. But for Balmyung says, no, I'm good. I'm going to be stable enough on the upgrades that I just found with that Nunu and those items, so we'll stabilize here.
And this is what I was mentioning about these gold subscription into one-cost reroll lines, is you get to roll a lot when you are on level 4. You go to 3-1, you're still level 4, and he had 60 gold to roll down, and spent 30 of it still in a very safe spot.
We were also wondering what kind of carry he might lean into here, and this already looks like a Kog'Maw angle. You look at those items, and it's going to be very difficult to make those work on Ziggs.
Yeah, I think
Give
that
him
is the main line when you are playing with the vertical Honeymancer, and I think it does put some of our other players into very weird spots. Gear PYM was also trying to go for that line. I saw he had the double Vanguards and Hunters for the back line.
Oh, prismatic augment coming through. We did see the Honeymancy.
Oh, wow, that was an insta-pick there for Zue.
I'm not a huge fan of taking the Honeymancy +1 unless you can guarantee a second one. I personally find that sometimes the 3-2 +1 Honeymancy, it gives you a lot of power right now, but ending the game on 5 Honeymancy usually is not enough to actually get you into the upper parts of the standings.
I agree. We're going to have a couple of people picking up the big artifacts, though. You've got the Spellcaster's Toolbox for YBY1 and Volta, and we're going to see Darkus pick up Suspicious.
Suspicious. Well, Freaky Friday is going to come into that mix as well. And while we are sitting here, we're going to be getting a Honeymancy crown from Balmyung. I just want to call out that Zue very, very instantly saw that Mage crown coming up as he was already on a Mage angle with that Seraphine Soraka and said, yep, 100% take it, going, locked in, and bought.
Which is interesting because I feel like you're still going to end up seeing the Mage reroll be the more dominant one, but because YBY1 is going to be playing the Seraphine Soraka as well, I think you actually want to angle to go 5.
Yeah, so the interesting thing with it is you still, like you said, want to play those units because they're stronger, they're easier to hit than that Veigar, not as costly. But what it allows you to do is go from 3 mages to 5 without needing to invest as much into leveling. So that is a very good point on how you can play out the 4 Vanguard while also allowing you to have something like a Mage Mordekaiser if that is eventually open for you.
We love that.
Yeah, a handful of different ways to play that line. I did want to call out a title that we saw on our screen just before. You can see on the left-hand side right now, took Tiniest Titan with the Bastion Crest. So at this point, the line's locked in. This is something we've seen all weekend long. This is the Fast 8, Fast 9, play 8 Bastion frontline with the AP backline. Sometimes you use the Rise, but eventually you want to bridge the gap until you can get onto that Xerath plus Melio and the 8 Bastions. It can cap out extremely high.
And I do want to point out for our 2 HP leaders, Zivir and YBY1, they're kind of locked into the same struggle here. Both of them heading towards the Mage line with the Spellcaster's Toolbox and, of course, the Mage +1. Prismatic Augment, I think, is the most awkward actually for Darkus. He was on a lose streak. He was angling originally for something like the Rakan and Fairies, but now that that comp doesn't use items so well, he's going to have to pivot out.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Darkus because obviously that last game was already an 8th, so they really need to turn it around now. We're going to be getting a glimpse of what is open. No open components. A vest on the Galio would be an option, and a belt on the Hecarim does go for the sword here, so maybe angling to make that Fiora comp happen now that we have Asterix, now that we have Suspicious, saying, this is my angle, that's what I'm hoping for.
Great combination. Fiora with the Suspicious Trenchcoat has been one of the strongest units that we've seen on Stage 4, Stage 5. When she can get into the backline and then suddenly there's 3 copies of her all ulting into your carry, she can be so deadly.
I just want to say it is very much a pivot because you don't want to play that line from a lose streak situation. It's too expensive to stabilize. This Prismatic really hurt his chances in terms of the game plan.
I mean, I think it was your best shot out. I think probably like a little bit of a desperation pick from Darkest here is not going to be something they can avoid, but maybe we'll make it happen. Has one Fiora already. The Nami in the backline is going to help a little bit to try and get some damage out there, and we'll see how that board plays out here. Definitely does need to stop the bleeding goes on 8 losses.
I do think if you were going to run into anybody, though, I think you're pretty happy about running into Volta with this comp. This is not necessarily one of the stronger comps in the lobby. So I feel like this is your breathing room to try to work with the gold on this next turn.
So in the background there, are we seeing a Syndra 2 on that bench? The left one looks bigger than the right one, and he only has a Syndra 1 itemized on the field.
We saw this yesterday too. Normally what happens is that you have your Syndra 1 on your board during something like Krugs, and then you have a Syndra on the bench, and then you get dropped 2 Syndras from the orbs, and then it makes Syndra 2, and now you have to find another Syndra 2 in order to make Syndra 2 on your board.
Because you have to keep the stacks.
Exactly.
This is very far-fetched, but maybe it's like a 5-head 200 IQ move.
Where she stacks faster if she's one. I was thinking that, but I never heard
the
that.
Field too fast, so you get it on one.
No.
No, people actually do that in PvE. I'm not sure versus PvP though. For PvE rounds, that's definitely true.
I don't know. That might be some hopium. Clemency.
Oh, no, wait, that is
doing
it.
it.
He actually
That's
is
actually
doing
the
it.
tech. Wait a second.
That's the tech.
Yeah. This is legitimate. So he
100% certified. I
had-
trust Volta more than you do. I'm just kidding.
Clement noted Mia the lever here. Wow, yes, we saw there the remover, and then does put the items back onto the Syndra 1. So it is exactly what Clement just outlined. You want to have the Syndra 1 not killing the board, and now that you have this very tanky front line of the multiple shapeshifters, the 3-item Nico, the Shyvana, we're looking at a 25-second fight in which the Syndra is just barely killing enough units to get the full stack.
Hey, I love it.
28 seconds. That fight was 28 seconds long.
I will say that could have had a very different effect if the Seraphine was on the other side and did snipe her out before she actually got the casts.
The mastermind. I'm actually now a Volta fan. I'm sorry.
You're welcome
Very
to join
risky.
the crew anytime.
Okay.
Checking in with Gear, though, that was the board we noted earlier, was maybe looking to go into the Kog'Maw reroll. Instead, has now found the more traditional Wu Jinx line, has good items for that Jinx as well. The only thing that's kind of missing is the Wu and the Jinx.
Yeah, there's a lot of things
Well,
missing on the
oh.
board.
Quick,
And it happened again.
Say something else.
At least he looks pretty calm.
All right, here's a roll down coming out of Darkest.
Very
They're
important
trying
roll
to
down.
find that Fiora 2. That's going to be big. Oh,
Just maybe checking in, doing a little wellness check right now, making sure
they're all
everyone's
still there.
okay.
No Fiora 2, though. And actually does find the Morgana. It's a really nice hit. Handful of different things here. Really does want to find this Fiora 2, though. Being able to have the additional 2-star copies of your Suspicious Trenchcoat. And I do love the itemization. Having the Edge of Night plus Suspicious Trenchcoat, you get all the different aggro drops going on in the backline. It can be so powerful. But again, you need the 2-star version.
There's no one else on Fiora. In case you were wondering, there's no one else on Fiora. Where was she? Where was she hiding? We don't even have 2 copies of her.
I just want to say, like, the average expectancy for getting a forecast that you want is about 50 gold. So he's rolled 24 times, you know, he's still below the average. You still got some time, you know.
And actually, I think Darkest knows that they don't need to go all the way down to stabilize. They're sitting at 30 gold. So being able to keep your econ up and with every turn build that gold back up, Darkest knows that they're going to be able to sacrifice a little bit of HP, stabilize now, and then hit the fully capped version of this Warrior Preserver board.
Wow, we're seeing some great pickups. Gear, who is already on the Wu Jinx, finds Hunting Frenzy. Zijuet finds that extra crit damage from the Lotus. And everybody else finds a little bit of more...
Volta gets Ascension, so following the same shape of that composition, you want to stall out as long as possible, be able to deal that damage in the back half of the fight.
Balmyong and Minfi pick up Inspiring Epitaph, so it's going to be a lot of attack speed coming through for their boards. Very helpful.
Oh, it's not just Ascensions, also the Syndra 3 coming in here as well. I really want to check on his stacks to see how far that strategy has pivoted in ahead.
55 stacks.
Ooh.
That's pretty good.
A lot of times when we've seen on 5-1, like the ones that don't have a mana item start are only on 60 stacks. So I think this is like very ahead of the curve.
Well, we are going to be needing a win for EMEA here, so I am in favor of this, but this fight does not look like it's going to go this way, despite the ascension, despite that...
Wait a
Hold
second,
on!
You're not a big enough
jinxed it.
believer.
I caster jinxed it in favor of Volta.
Oh, I see. The tactical caster curse. Volta definitely is going to want the 3-star frontline, though. That is one of the things about this comp. You want to make sure that, yes, you know, Nico 2, Swain 2, they can do a lot right now, but it takes a while to actually get the full power of that comp.
Camille in shop for title here picks it up. We're getting a glimpse at the Bastion comp.
The big thing here is he needs to find that Diana. You need the 8 Bastion online to have the invincible backline to happen, and Tidal is cutting it very close. He's going for the straight 9.
He's going to be 1 HP once he hits 9, most likely going to lose this fight with just a Zoe 2 in your backline. Odds are you're not killing all that much, and actually this is one of those fights where it's one singular frontline unit that's very hard to kill. There's a chance we don't kill a single unit in this fight.
Essentially, he has 27 HP, but he still needs to, 29 HP, but he needs to make it through 3 different fights. This is going to be the tightest turnaround, but if anyone can do it, it's Tidal.
You might be right about that. Not getting any... Oh, just kidding.
The tactical caster jinx.
Hey, honestly, I think we killed 2 units. That's 2 more than I thought Tidal was going to kill in this fight. And to your point, Clement, yes, he needs to win 3 fights, but he's going to have about 40 gold, I think, 50 gold into that level 9 roll down, so it's going to be huge. And a Xerath on the board right now is 1 unit in the pool Tidal no longer needs to find.
Olaf as well for a couple of our Hunter players.
Is there a Fiora for Darkest yet? That was the big one
Gear
we're looking
actually
for.
gets that Olaf. Wow, stays open for Gear to pick up who was on that.
Oh, perfect component too. Gets the cloak on that with 2 open bows. Can get a 3rd item on the Jinx now, or even make, you know, a Runeans for this Olaf if you'd like.
All right,
Checking
here's
in
the
on
roll
Tidal.
down. Where are the 5 costs?
Big moment. It's got to be fast. You don't have a lot of time to stabilize here.
Oh,
Well, we're just buying everything.
Diana. There you
huge.
go.
And
8
you have the
Bastion.
Xerath as well. Still, do you want to find something like the Melio would be nice, but having 3 Arcana is never going to feel bad.
Extra attack speed, has a charm,
Another
finds
Diana.
a second Diana. We're going to take it. Some extra units that can still be sold off to try and make something here. Milio, not going to be coming around though, goes up against Midfeed, and Midfeed has found arguably a lot of these multi-striker units already and is now cashing out on the top 4 effect of this floorboard scrapper.
Big loss streak for him. A lot of the times this multi-striker matchup doesn't work that well because you don't get backline assassination when they're invincible, and I think this is what is happening right here. 8 Bastion, just one of the toughest matchups. But have I spoken a little too soon?
Last cat's going to go through. The Catchman's actually... Oh, it was very close to Catchman being able to scale back up. The
So we won diff.
anti-heal from the Morello is going to be is pretty big, but now, yeah, title.
The Milio comes in. That's the big one we were looking for because he can pass those items to all the other Bastions.
You can see immediately takes the items off of the Xerath. Exactly what you're talking about. What you want is for the Melio. The Melio is the way in which your composition scales because every single time the Melio casts, your Bastions who already have so many defenses get items, and you can get strong items onto this Xerath. Right now, the goal is to outlast everybody that you fight so that Diana and the Xerath can slowly whittle down the enemy team.
YB1 is still sitting on a 1-star rise though.
50 gold.
Yeah. It's still a great matchup for title.
I feel like this is a difference with APAC play. A lot of times we see players willing to go super low and not play full tempo to get these higher cap outs. In fact, like Tidal and YBY, some of the best in the region are all known for this.
I completely agree. I am surprised, you know, with the first 2 games, part of it I think is just the shape, the way the games went. We are seeing players greed way more than we've seen of the last 2 days, but you're right, it could actually just be the way APAC is playing, and if that is the case, I mean, obviously there's 6 of them, 5 of them here today, so can't argue with the result.
That surely will matter for everybody else that now needs to adapt to that kind of dominance tempo that they're showing up here. And one of the players that has been falling just a little bit in the last couple of rounds has to be Volta here. Now down to 28. We did check in with Tidal, was winning a couple of rounds. Midfeed, similar story. Both of these players need to turn it around, and they need to turn it around soon.
Darkest on the 7-game win streak is really huge coming out of stage 4. We talked about it before, how scary it was playing that double down into a line that you then needed to pivot off of. But Darkest actually finding the line in which it works, has the Fiora 2 with the Trenchcoat, the Gwen, these Preservers online, and the Preserver Warrior line, it has not performed particularly well this weekend. Doesn't mean that it cannot. We know that it can be strong when you get to level 9 and get the fully upgraded board.
So Volta just went level 7. My question is, are we actually seeing some rolling there? Or are we going to stay on that line? It looks at least like some gold is being invested on the level 7 to try and round out the board on the Syndra backline. Cassiopeia 3 has been found. Frontline, we're still missing some golden color, it seems like, but maybe this is good enough.
I know Volta says he's trying to aim for the best, but I would feel so uncomfortable not rolling here. He doesn't have a single 3-star front line, and he's running into a lot of trouble now.
Oh man, the Cassiopeia actually, with that positioning, one of the reasons why the Kassadin can't go anywhere else and instead stays on the back line. The Syndra, unfortunately, not able to take out any more units.
This looks like it might just be a free fall at this point.
I mean, there's still plenty of gold to be spent, like Clement was saying. I think Volta is playing it more risky than he needed to try and find a bigger cap. So that gold I expect to be spent as soon as possible. So is going to be going for level 8 here to try and make something else fit. Gets that Nasus in the shop, which will help with the front line. It's not a 3-star, but at least it's some extra beef.
6 shapeshifter now too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, it does amplify the front line a lot. I'm just worried about where everybody else is sitting right now with these really powerful comps.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like a win-out angle, right?
No.
You have too many players that are going level 9. They're going to have extremely strong compositions. The 2-star 2 cost from behind is not going to be enough to win you the game. The goal for Volta right now is win the next game and try and win.
This is probably the worst
Milio
matchup.
2 on the other side.
Yeah, 3-item Milio 2, and this is the power we're talking about from the Bastion composition. There are 3 items on this Milio 2, all of which are giving attack speed to the Milio. So with every second that goes by, the Bastions are able to get additional items. I will say the 6 shapeshifters, though, holding up quite well, and there's no Xerath 2, so you don't actually have the power to punch through the 6 shapeshifters.
A big thing is the Milio actually spread the items to the front line, so there was nothing on the Xerath until much later. So the Xerath wasn't able to dish out the damage that was needed.
Volta punching the air right now, saying, thank God I didn't run into that one. Or thank God I run into that one right now so it doesn't happen again. Darkest, continuing their win streak, is now at 9 wins on the back of that Fiora line. We're just going to see how our bottom players are placing, whether or not they can avoid that knockout here in game number 2.
A much stronger position for Volta. The title actually doesn't have a charm here, so...
Now, Title's going up against Balmyong, who did actually find the Kog'Maw 3. You're also working with that Honeymancy Jinx. There's just a lot of damage on the front line. It's going to burst down these big frontline units.
It's about the Diana. How much can she get done onto the back line?
Doing a lot.
Wow, big catch there, but the Kog'Maw actually able to take her out. Problem is there's still a little bit of backline access. Yeah, you got that Milio and the Xerath. There's just so much damage. With that, the Kog'Maw is down. The rest of the Honeymancers are down. I do not see a world in which Balmyong can take this one.
It's a much needed win for both of these players here. Ooh, that Bloodthirster Milio is huge because Diana still needs 1 item here.
See if Title's going to go for it instead. Looking elsewhere, maybe for
maybe
the Xerath too.
Xerath. Oh? For the Fiora.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that.
The only thing I can think of here is that if you look at Darkest has 6 Fioras on their board. If Title sees that Darkest is maybe in his rotation, he's saying I need to deny Fiora 3 because the only way in which I think I would lose this game if I hit Xerath 2 is to something like a 3-star 4 cost.
Very good catch. Yeah, I think that has to be the only explanation here. He had AP items for the front line.
No charm again, though. Still cannot find it.
That must mean Darkest is in a very strong spot for you know, if he was in the bottom spot, I could understand why Title would deny him. But if he's in the front spot, that means it's just like he's very close already.
Yep, must be very, very close. Midfeed, though, we did see from the beginning scoreboard scrapper, and every turn you're going to be scaling up. Midfeed at one point got to that top half, but now has free fallen at 7 HP. Needs to try and burst through these Bastions, but if there's a front line you have that is good at denying burst, it's going to be the Bastions. The question is, can the back line between the Milio and the Xerath get through the Hecarim and the Kassadin, or are they going to find their way into the back line?
So a really great thing about the multi-strikers is that they have so much HP that the first Xerath cast doesn't actually knock them all the way down, and that is going to be the reason why they were able to press on here. That Xerath not able to clutch it out, and they will just run it over. Unfortunately, though, for EMEA, Volta taking an 8th.
2 players already out at this point. Title taking a 7th. Unfortunately, unable to finish that Xerath 2 the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if taking the Last Whisper to deny the Fiora has a part to do.
I mean, that's too confident in his ability to come back.
Without having the Xerath 2, I think if you have Xerath with a mana generation item already on it, you know that you're going to be getting something with this Milio cast. I can see it, but I think Title was further behind than he thought he was.
No, I think Darkest was just closer than we were thinking. That Fiora would have probably been Fiora 3.
Yeah,
that's why it was denied.
There's 8 copies.
There's 2 on the field and 2 on the bench. And the 2 on the field are both 2-stars. So Title saying, I am sacrificing myself for this lobby to not see a Fiora 3.
Well, if there would be one time to see a 3-star forecast, it would be in the final day of competition at the Tactician's Crown.
Well, now that Title's out, that Fiora is back in the pool, so maybe it comes around.
And I think Makes has made a great point there. That actually explains why he had to take it, because if that was a 3-star for 100% he loses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bamyang at 4th place. Look at the HP totals here. 7 HP in 5th place, all the way up to 14 for 2nd. So going into 6-1, this does mean that all of the players apart from Darkest are on 1 life, right? I believe that actually it would be a minimum lethal for everybody apart from 1. Bamyang, I actually think you're probably pretty happy. I think they're playing the Honeymancy line without the 7 Honey can sometimes be a little tricky. Zap Attack, though, one of the conditions in which it can actually be very powerful. I think piloting it very well. Had a strong placement last game and is now playing for points to try and get into that range for potential check next game.
That was a Gwen too. I'm looking at Darkest. I'm like trying to see if maybe the rolls are giving us a Fiora 3, but it does not come on through.
I think it still could, though. Darkest is so healthy.
Yeah. Still close.
So healthy. You're going to be able to survive this round. But one of these players is not. Between our 2 good friends, Midfeed and Bamyang, one of them is going to have to get eliminated here.
Great positioning diff here. Actually keeps most of his heavy hitters on the left side. The Hunter isn't able to target them out, and he's going to take out Bamyang.
I imagine Bamyang's probably not the only person that's going to fall this round. We got to see. Whoa! 1 HP.
It is.
Wow.
He's alive.
Able to hold on with 1 HP. I thought it was minimum lethal, so actually
it was 12 HP on stage 6.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so ZUA able to hold on for 1 more round.
So let's actually talk about this board, because we mentioned it when the augments were picked and we looked at it very early on, but really going for the full vertical mages, not something we've seen ever since that patch was kind of closed up. So now coming back here and making a show with that Vex 3 frontline, with that Galio 3 frontline, buying as much time as possible.
I was going to say, I think this is one of the conditions that we see this vertical mage comp actually do really well, and a lot of the gold subscription was able to allow you to roll for the Vex, roll for the Galio completely uncontested.
Darkest still did not hit the Fiora. You can see the Fiora's on the bench on the right-hand side, and Darkest might actually be in kill range right now. Don't know the exact HP, but you can see their front line is crumbling. The mages run through them. GUA secures that fight win. Should be the top 2 right now alongside Midfeed.
Oh, I'm so sad. That Fiora 3 would have been glorious. Cash out does come on through for ZUA.
Cash out.
And look at the way Zero positioned for that fight. He had the Soraka onto the side, on an island. The 2 big clumps of units he doesn't really need, drawing the attention of the Fiora, and the Soraka finishes it off.
I just noticed Midfeed, despite being at the bottom of the standings for most of the last stage, because of the eliminations and the HP being so close, actually got the bonus of Scoreboard Scrapper despite only being at what I thought was like 7 HP or something. So that absolutely helped Midfeed turn a corner, now on a 4-win streak.
One final fight though, because it can only be one player that comes out on top between ZUA and Midfeed. It's going to be these multi-strikers trying to get access to the backline of the mages, but there is so much healing coming through from this Soraka. It's just not enough to keep that front line or back line alive. And Midfeed gets the maximum
Look
value
at this
out of that
face.
score.